Hi, welcome back. In this video, we will be learning about the flex wrap CSS property. Okay, so if we go to the documentation here, the flex wrap CSS property sets whether flex items are forced onto one line or can wrap onto multiple lines. Okay, if wrapping is allowed, it sets the direction that lines are stacked. Okay, so the default one for this flex wrap property, the default value is no wrap. Okay, so I can show it to you. So currently here it is. So if I go here and do something like flex direction to row, and then so the width of the container is 1500 pixels. So what I can do something like 400 pixel of width. If I set it to that, then what will happen? So we have 6 items, right? We have 6 boxes and each of the boxes have 400 pixels worth of width. So in total, that should be 400 times 6 equals to 2400 pixels. Okay. So surely our content should be overflowing. So let's see what happens. If I set it to that, now go here. As you can see, our content is not overflowing yet. And what has happened is basically our boxes have shrunk down so that they can fit into that particular 1500 pixel. I can show it to you as well. If I just open the DevTools and select one element and open the computer tab, and here it is. Okay, the width is 248.328 pixels. Okay, so as you can see, the width is shrunk down. It is not 400 pixel. So what we can do here, we can set the flex wrap to no wrap, which is the default one, and if we do that, nothing will change. Now we can set the flex wrap to wrap. And if we do that, then what will happen? Our content will be wrapped around multiple lines. So what is happening? We are having the first row and each of the elements currently right now has 400 pixels of width. Okay. And it has wrapped around to the next line. That is why we have a second row as well. Okay. So this is what flex wrap does. Now, if I just do that, so this is it. Now if I go here, and what I can do, I can increase the width to something like 800 pixels. So now each and every element is in its separate row. Now we can just go to 400 pixels. Now this is the flex direction. Okay, so now if I set the flex direction to row reverse, then what will happen? So if I do that, then what is happening? Our content is starting from the right and going to the left, and the next row is starting from the right and going to the left. Okay, so here it is. Now I will just convert it to row, and let's change it to column right now. Okay, if I hit save, currently right now the height is 200 pixels for each of the boxes, and our container has no fixed height. So that is why what will happen, each and every element will be stacked one on top of another. But if I just add the height to 400 pixel and add the height for the container of something like 1500 pixels once again, if I save that, now as you can see, there are two columns. The first column is starting from top to bottom, and the second column is starting from top to bottom as well. Okay, why is that? Because the flex direction is set to column. Now if I do something like column reverse, so now our columns are starting from bottom and ending to the top. Okay, so let's do the column. Okay, and here it is. Now, apart from the nowrap and wrap, there is another value which FlexWrap can have, which is the wrap reverse. And to demonstrate that, what I'll do, I'll go to the flex direction and set it to row, and let's see what happens. So currently the flex direction is set to row and the flex wrap is set to wrap. So this happens. Okay, we have two different rows. One thing to remember is that where is our first row? It is on top because 1, 2, 3, right? This is the first element, then second and third. Okay, now if I set the wrap reverse here and go to the browser, now our first row is on the bottom and then we have the second row on top of that. So it is setting the direction in which the extra elements will be rendered, or the extra row or the column will be rendered. Okay, so if we set the flex wrap to wrap reverse, then previously what was happening is that our 1, 2, 3, this row was on the top, and then under that we had this row. But if we set the flex wrap to wrap reverse, then the new row will be on top of the previous row. Okay, I know this is a little bit confusing, and I personally do not use the wrap reverse quite often. I just use the normal wrap. Okay, and if we want to mess around with this, then what we can do, we can set it to row reverse as well and flex wrap to wrap reverse. Then this thing will happen. So our content is now starting from the right and going to the left, and we have our new column on top of our first column. Okay, so yeah, I know this is a little bit confusing, but to demonstrate the simple one, what we will do is I will just do the flex direction set to row and the flex wrap set to wrap. Okay, so if we set that, then what will happen? The elements which are not fitting inside of the width will be on to their separate row or separate column, depending on the flex direction and the height and the width, basically. So this is the flex wrap CSS property.